Yo, check it out. It's your boy DGL7. Now today I have a special guest. I'm actually a fan of his. He's a pretty cool guy. He came in the interview. He came on for an interview before, and I know he's been around. He's not just like. The thing is that there's a lot of candidates that just sign up one time because they think it's a cool idea to have a prestigious title. But I know Tom's been around this. Tom Queter has actually been around the whole libertarian thing for quite some time. Correct, Tom?
Actually, it's been about 3 years.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I mean, still that's
I,
decent, right? Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
I
you've been
kind of
active. I've seen
skyrocketed
you
for a
around. It's not
libertarian.
just yeah. I've seen
Yeah,
around the.
so
Go ahead.
yeah, so I started injecting my disability advocacy in the libertarian realms online around 2016. In 2019, I got asked to form the county committee, and I did that in about 8 weeks. Within another 8 weeks, I think we had multiplied the number of libertarians in the county by a factor of seven.
Ooh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, that was immediately before pandemic, right?
Okay.
2019. Um, and at the same time, I got pulled into a group of people that were looking for a candidate to run for our Senate district because we had a word that the incumbent was going to be unopposed by the Democrats, which is always a good sign of dirty dealings. We know that.
Okay.
Can't point it out. Can't say exactly what it is. But in New York, when a Democrat doesn't run, there's a reason. Um, did pretty well in that race, worked hard, took 12.6%, if I remember right.
Okay.
Over 13,000 votes in a rural county or a rural district. Um, it was fun. The best part, though, is getting out and talking to people in the wild, if you will, on the street when you're canvassing at an event. When you get to have those one-on-one interactions with people who live in your district, you really get a feel for all the different problems that are out there. So everybody comes from their own place, and a district like a Senate district in upstate New York is pretty big,
Yeah.
and there's a quite a range of issues and needs. Um, Everything from farmers to the inner city problems that spill over into the Broome County, Binghamton area, right?
Okay.
Um, it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I actually know the Poconos had a problem with some gang activity that actually moved into the Poconos after. Hopefully, Binghamton was free of those types of problems. But yeah, the city problems can definitely expand outwards into other realms. No question. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be gang activity. It can be,
It could be
um,
pollution, or it could be a lot of
it, it,
things. Go
it
ahead.
can be it can be the standard urban squalor created, right?
Yeah.
Um, Bad policies often create bad circumstances, and bad circumstances create people who are desperate, and people who are desperate have problems.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by the urban squalor, if you will. Um,
Now,
but then I
go
got
ahead.
asked to take up the U.S. Senate run for 22, and unfortunately we were write-ins for that. But I did my part for getting on the ballot. We missed the mark, but we came damn close.
I don't know if you
And
saw the my newsletter. I don't think I've added you yet, but I did actually endorse you for Senate. I don't know if you saw that.
I appreciate that.
No problem, man. Yeah, you earned it, man. You're cool, man. I appreciate you taking on the duopoly and their corrupt little BS. You know,
I
we
you
need,
know
yeah,
I wish some of these big money endorsements would start feeling that way
you know.
because my 2020 race is a good indicator of that.
That's why
Um,
they don't, though, right? Because the thing is that they want the status quo, and I want the status quo returned. So, you know what I
right,
mean?
so
Yeah,
I was outspent by a factor of 20, and I got over 10% of the vote. Think about that.
that's pretty cool, man. There's a lot of people who want change. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
Yeah. And if you want change and you've got a candidate you believe in, you have to support them.
yeah.
Particularly if it's somebody that's not lockstep with the two-party system. Um,
No, I don't want
because
just a change from the top though. I want a
yeah,
change from a systemic change from the bottom to the top. I want the whole thing
correct,
changed up.
correct,
And
and that's why your local candidates are more important.
so I could go off and talk about the latest things going on with Angela McArdle and the Nick Braun and the People's Party arranging something in February. I'm not going to get into that right now. I only have like about 20 minutes left to really talk about some other issues right now. One of the things that I work on is disabilities issues. And one of the things that comes up is recently there was a ruling that says that they're going to be changing some of the pedestrian stops. And when Mark, he's actually a disabilities advocate that I work with, and just so you know, we're actually in January 3rd to 2023. Just so you know, in January of 2022, when the new administration got elected in, me and Mark, well, actually it was mostly Mark, were out there from day one of the new year, protesting nonstop, and then we got the New York State Disabilities Advocate restored after a month long in front of, right, because we were first in line when the administration walked in the door. Now, actually, I think January 10th, there's going to be the New York State Assembly is going to have their meeting, right? Yeah, they're going to be talking about some issues. I know there's a couple groups going up there. There's a vaccine mandates rally. There's a public housing rally that's going on up there, and it's possible that the disabilities, you know, group may actually have certain things that they're looking to get done. So with this latest, I'm going to put this on my screen. I'll share it. What is it? Something called a PASS Coalition. There's a new rule that says that called Pedestrians for Accessible and Safe Streets. And for blind and visually impaired people, a judge has ordered widespread installation of accessible pedestrian signals in New York City. If you ever been to Canada, Toronto?
I have not.
Okay, it's kind of quite crazy because you walk around the streets and you hear all these birds calling. It's very mechanical, and those bird signals are actually telling people with hearing disabilities, right? Like what the signals are. You see what I'm saying? So they know if to walk or don't walk. That's an interesting, right? It doesn't really exist here. So that's just an interesting change. But when I think about accessibility on the streets, right? It's good that we have these things taken care of, right? The blind and visually impaired people. But I know that people who are in, I know you yourself use a wheelchair, correct?
Yes.
And that you actually have like a lot of those struggles, like in terms of like building the ramps so they're not at 45 degrees, right? No one can actually wheel themselves up before they're actually going to fall over backwards, right? If the ramp is too steep. Go ahead.
So that's all situational. I'm in a power wheelchair, so a 45-degree angle ramp is not a problem. But in a manual chair, for most people, that would be a problem. Not everyone who's in a manual chair is an athlete.
45 is really steep. You can go up 45? That's really steep.
So my particular chair will climb a 6-inch curve. So yeah.
Damn. All right, that's cool. All right, that's pretty dope, man. So, also like when I have a chance to maybe see some of these legislators, right? I might be mentoring the past. I know that Mark has certain things that he wants to really see from this new, right, before they install these boxes that are going to have the locator tones and all this other thing, right? There may be some other recommendations, or we'll probably be talking about this later on. Not sure, right? Because you're not really hearing impaired, so this might not have been told to you. But go ahead.
I have some experience.
Oh, great.
So I've been to the national conventions and other political conventions around the country in the last few years. I've had the chance to go to Florida 3 times. On one of those trips, we stopped in Savannah, Georgia on the way out. And I had the opportunity to walk around the historic side of Savannah, Georgia, right?
Okay.
And they had speaking crosswalk signals, right? It told you whether or not to walk, as well as the light up arrows, right? Just like anything else. But it also spoke to you. Now, here was the problem. And this is why whenever we talk about things, especially if we're going to ask the government to do them, we need to remember the devil is always in the details, and anybody can screw a thing up. Words on paper are just words on paper. And let me tell you what these signals did.
You get it. That's word up. Okay, that's damn
so
true. Go ahead.
These signals, they worked correctly as far as the lights, right? When to walk and when not to. The voice was opposite of what was correct, right?
Ooh.
So it would literally tell you to cross the road when traffic was going. And I ran into about a half a dozen of them. I ran into about a half a dozen of them that were exactly wrong, right? So that's something a government did, and that's something that was well intended and passed, and people made decisions, but then now we're telling deaf people to walk into traffic. Or blind people could walk into traffic.
That's exactly what does happen in a lot of the systems right there. You're exactly right. And this is exactly why, right, before they start implementing these things, right, I want to make sure that, because exactly that stupid thing that you talked about, there's some simple like electronic fail safes that could really prevent something like that,
Mm-hmm.
or make it much more reliable. And thank you for sharing that, right? Because guess what? The industry's not going to tell us. The industry is just going to tell us, trust us. It's all going to be okay. Just give us the money. We'll do the contract. Shut up. You know what I mean?
So
No.
now let's
Go
let's
ahead.
let's say they install this,
Yeah.
and the first person to go down the road after they're all installed and use one is vision impaired, and they're using the audible signals, and they almost get hit by a car, right?
Okay.
So two things can happen here. One, they can sue, right? Which
Yes.
costs taxpayers, correct? Right? And
Okay.
that device just costs the taxpayers. Installing it costs the taxpayers, and now because it malfunctions, this person who was almost killed is going to cost the taxpayers. Beyond that, right? Let's say he chooses not to sue and he just wants to complain and get it fixed. The bureaucratic process for that is often dissuadable. People will just recognize it doesn't work and not rely on it rather than complain about it.
So, you said a lot of times people just won't actually talk about the problem.
Yes, that is correct. Very common in those with disabilities. I don't know specifically regarding the death, but so there was a study some years ago, and they discovered that a survey about abuse, same survey, in institutions, meaning old folks' homes, homes for the elderly, places where you're being cared for, right?
Yes.
If the person had to put their name on it, they got a 1 out of 10 hit on various forms of abuse combined, right? If they did not have to put their name on it, they got a 9 out of 10 in some instances, but an average of 7 out of 10.
There's a lot of ways to manipulate satisfaction numbers, and these companies that are incentivized to it. So is the government, right? The government
Well,
doesn't want
so
to see any program go wrong, right? Oh, we did a great job. What do you mean there's problems with the program that we installed? No, there's no problems.
so
Yeah, there's a
that's
lot of
that's
covering up. Yeah, go ahead.
that's just it, right? So in the case that I was just using as an example, the people don't want to put their names down because the first people who are likely to hear about it, as they're aware of through the formal complaint system, are going to be the people caring for them, and that can lead to more abuse. Um, in the case of a system in this instance, it's just not worth it. It's so much stress. It's so much trouble to get something fixed that's been done wrong through a bureaucratic governmental system that is difficult. Now, I applaud your friend who's working for this, and I applaud that this is a concept being implemented. But I also warn, whenever the government does anything, whenever anybody does anything, you need to pay attention. You need to make sure it works. You need to make sure it's a good deal, right?
Yeah.
What are we paying for?
A lot of these people, right, and I have to say this is something I've seen like more recently on the left a lot, right? The thing is that because people have well intentions, it leads them to make all kinds of excuses and to
Yep.
overlook certain critical aspects.
Yep.
And, the people who are actually being served by that program must have some say, must have the ability to review the system, right? You cannot just, right? A lot of people who would advocate a system like this, a lot of them have no disabilities at all, right? But they think they're helping when in fact, results matter. And
Correct.
yeah, so that's very astute. Once again, you said that was in Georgia, right? I will actually follow up with you if necessary, but I will
That
actually,
was
yeah,
Yep, that was in the historic. This was 2020, and it
okay.
was in the historic district of Savannah, Georgia.
I'm so glad that you actually told me about that. We'll be able to warn them in advance and say, look, this is an issue that happened in other places. We need to make sure that, if that happens here, there's going to be a problem. So
Yeah, and I honestly don't know if anything was ever done about those in Savannah.
well, I don't have any, connections to Savannah, Georgia right now, but that could change, right?
Yeah,
I am growing and I am relentless as an activist. So, either way, yeah. Um,
right on.
and actually, I know you seem like kind of a fighter yourself, right? So,
I'd be dead if I weren't.
exactly, right? So, I know you have another meeting coming in like 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes, right? But the thing is, what do you got planned for the future? Are you gonna run again? You're gonna be staying active with the Libertarian Party? What's going on with you?
Well, um, I'm in the process of trying to decide all of that. To be honest with you, I have started a nonprofit foundation, the
Okay.
Mobility Independence Foundation. We seek to um, acquire and update IP that is no longer held or restricted,
Okay.
and update it for the times. Right, we've already got 11 months of research and development on one line.
So is this
Right,
like music,
uh,
or is this like brand names,
so
or what is this? Maybe
um,
all of it.
mobility equipment.
Oh, mobility. Okay,
Um,
cool.
yes. So right now we're working on a power chair.
Yeah.
Um, we have a good design to start with, and we're moving forward. I've been in the process the last 2 months filing all of the government paperwork, and believe it or not, it cost me well over $1,000 just to get permission from the government to try to help people.
You know, I'm kicking myself because in my newsletter I did not talk about the right to repair, but I
Yep,
believe that you also made modifications
correct,
on
and
your own
that is
thing.
a
Yeah.
part of what this foundation is for. It is a 50C13 or 501c3 nonprofit. We are registered. Um, the goal is to take all of these designs, right?
Yeah.
Only holding the IP so they can't be held by other people and restricted, right? Um, and make them free along with parts lists and sources. If you have the ability or friends with the ability and you want to construct a wheelchair, here's your design. This is where you buy your parts, right? And on top of that, here's how you crowdfund for it. Here's how you help for it. The foundation will also be raising money to try and provide them. But we want to work with colleges and high school tech classes because what we've discovered is that these can be very simple machines that almost anybody could work on if they know how to turn a wrench. Um, so I've been working with, wow, a lot of people.
Okay. You know, some other
But
just I feel like the pressure because I know we're running out of time, right? But one of the things that
right,
also me and Mark are working on is, you know, he said that with some videos, because you know, like I make the videos and stuff, I might be making some videos to help address right pedestrian issues that disabled people face. You know what I mean? So like when you were talking about some of the issues that you were talking about, like the light not working, right? We can make a video of showing like you know what how horrible it could be, right? If they push if the signal's giving out the wrong stuff, and we could dramatize it. And maybe I could also right with Mark is really for the website called deafblindinclusion.com. But if there's any issues that you guys are working on, it sounds like your project's really cool. And I would really like to be it sound you know it's the right to repair and the other things issues. And by the way, if people want to help support this upcoming 501c3, does it have a name and how can people follow right? Maybe if they follow Tom Queter at Twitter or something, they can find about the updates. Tell me more how people can support and find out and follow your project.
so you're going to have to follow me on Facebook or Twitter to find that out. We're in the process of setting up all of our infrastructure. The website's going up. Um, and of course, I've still got filings for New York because it's New York. And I'm trying to find a fundraiser. We need kind of all hands on deck. If you're interested, just find me on Facebook or Twitter and send me a message. It is about right to repair. It is about open source. It is about bucking the system, right? Because these are chairs that aren't going to be paid for by healthcare systems or the corporations that buy your politicians. Nobody's going to have their hands in it but you and whoever you need to help you construct it.
That's very helpful. Yeah. So your Facebook and your we'll put that into the links below. If you just put it after this program, I'll just pin it so other people can access that. And also the thing is that January 10th, I believe that we're heading down to Albany, and I think in February that we may be going to another legislative meeting for people who are minorities, stuff like that. Is there anything that I could help you, right? Because I think that's just a week away. If I go down and talk to New York State legislators, is there any pressing issues in disabilities or outside of disabilities that I can help you with?
Tell them they need to remove the restrictions from welfare because it kills people.
Which restrictions? You're talking about the restrictions like
So
need.
there's income restrictions, right?
Okay.
So healthcare is now welfare, right?
Yeah.
Medicaid, Medicare. Um, so that can be the hurdle between you and a full life. That can be the hurdle between you and an income.
Yeah.
That can be the hurdle between you and becoming a taxpayer,
I think
right?
also
Because you
for
need that health care.
yeah, for disability needs, the thing is that when people with disabilities apply for help, right? The thing is that they didn't move up the cost of living or whatever it is with interest. So the thing is that you guys are still operating on, low budget levels that were set a long time ago. So if you're making over, like, let's say, like, $8,000 a year or something, then you qualify
I
for
can
assistance.
clarify that for you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There is a cost of interest or cost of living increase every year.
Oh, okay. That's
But
good.
let me clarify how that works.
Go ahead.
For a lot of people in New York, their SSI payments went up by $2, and because their SSI payments went up by $2, their food stamps allotment went down by 3. So their cost of living increase for the year is a negative $12.
Okay. Well, actually, that would be technically good, right?
Well, depending. I mean, do you want $12 less of food? I mean, so
Oh no,
on one hand,
no.
I don't like these systems. On the other hand, I don't want people to suffer. So
Yeah.
they spend an awful lot of money to calculate and finagle this cost of living increase, and they probably cost more money to change it than they saved by removing that $3.
Okay. So look, I know you had the other meeting to get to. I don't want to hold you up, and I really appreciate you coming by today. This disabilities thing is actually coming up real soon, so thank you so much. And I'll probably send you an email. Are you on the newsletter? I just sent out a newsletter blast today. I don't think so. Yeah, but
I
I should.
didn't see that come in. I did give you
Yeah,
my email
I
address and
don't think I
text you.
added you yet. Yeah, I've been backed up,
But
but I will do that
real
today.
quick,
Go
real
ahead.
quick, that's the Mobility Independence Foundation, and the website will be themyth.org. MIF, themyth.org.
Okay, cool. And definitely subscribe to and follow my man Thomas Queter. I hope you run again, and I look forward to a long and prosperous political relationship with you.
All right. You have a good night.
My brother, God bless.